Hello, my name is Roman Duvern. I'm CEO of Conesprit, and today I want to talk to you about SAP Business One Cloud. In particular, I want to talk about seizing opportunities in terms of cost optimization and opportunities for connectivity and mobility. Now, for whom is this interesting? This presentation is interesting for persons that already have an SAP system up and running, and they're currently considering ways how to move their existing solution into the cloud. And of course, interested persons that might think Business One is interesting for them and they are looking for an opportunity to move towards cloud. Before we talk about the opportunities, I need to briefly introduce different cloud service models. They will later help us to understand where you are and what options you have. Let's begin with a small overview. It's a layer concept, and it's, say, in a summary, something if you look at the data warehouse, how it's structured. Now, you have some sort of networking layer, you have storage, you have servers, you have virtualization, you have operating systems, you have probably a middleware, you have a runtime environment, you have data, and on top of that, you have applications using all the layers beneath. Strictly speaking, this is no cloud service model. It's basically a layer concept, and in a traditional way, you have all these layers and you manage them. The first cloud service model is infrastructure as a service. What does it mean? It means that the first layers, networking towards virtualization, is managed by a partner. That means you go and find someone who is hosting this environment for you, and you take care of the layers operating system to application. The next concept, the next model, is platform as a service. Here you have further levels that are managed by your partner, networking to runtime, and you manage the data and the application. The last model presenting software as a service, SaaS. Here, your partner is managing all the layers, and you basically most likely renting the service by a monthly fee. In your private life, you may use Netflix or Spotify. These are very well-known services we use as B2C, and this is a very good example for software as a service. Also in this concept, we need to briefly talk about public and private cloud. Private cloud basically means that someone is providing an environment for you that is exclusively rented for you. Whereas public cloud is an environment where you partly share services with other clients, with other customers. So this environment is not exclusively hosted for you. When we look at those models, we can make further characteristics or distinguish further kind of characteristics. One is customizability, meaning how far can you adapt this environment for you. And in infrastructure as a service, you have the highest flexibility because most of the layers belong to you. You manage them, mean you can modify and adapt them as you like. Whereas software as a service is the opposite. Here, customizability is very low. Consider Netflix or Spotify again. The options for you to modify the service are rather low. But we also have to look at costs in here. Of course, infrastructure as a service comes with a price. You can modify it as you like, but at the same time, costs are the highest. On the other side, since software as a service is shared with other customers, of course, the costs are reduced and are the smallest in these models. Now, when we look at two of those models, we now further looking into infrastructure as a service and software as a service, and we are further categorizing them into complex complexity. Now, infrastructure as a service is relevant for you when you use many different interfaces and they are highly customized for you. Same is about add-ons. When you massively use add-ons, maybe even some of them add-ons may have been created just for you or your company. This is also an indicator for go for infrastructure as a service. Generally speaking, these are implementations where we consider the complexity of implementation as high or very high. If you have a system where you feel it's highly customized, particularly for you, you probably should go and go for the infrastructure as a service model. Of course, there are plenty of options. In this scenario, cost optimization. In the next slide, I briefly talk about lift and shift and options to save costs or cut costs here. On the other side, we have software as a service. Here, if you have interfaces that are highly standardized, in Germany, like DATEV or Elster, things that is basically the same in your installation and in all the other installations, it is an indication to go for software as a service. Same is about add-ons. Also here we have a certain standardization, meaning again, DATEV and Elster. If you're using just really highly standardized add-ons, you may go for software as a service. Generally speaking, complexity. Here we're talking about implementations that are rather low or medium in terms of complexity, meaning that the system, the overall system has been individualized for you. However, it's not highly customized, so you can go for software as a service. Software as a service, I want to introduce you later into Business One Cloud. It's an environment that we created, a platform, and we want to show you, or I want to show you how you can use different cloud connectivities. And those may be even relevant in order to replace your existing interfaces and add-ons. We begin with infrastructure as a service, and we talk about approaches for cost optimizations. We here have the first option is resizing or right-sizing and smoothing. Now, what's happening here? Let's say you have your existing hardware, and this is the orange box. So the orange box is 100%. Before you move towards the cloud, lift and shift, you run an analysis on your existing hardware, and you count the CPU utilization. And here you see that in this case, 25% of the CPU is being used. That means when you move into the cloud, you don't have to necessarily rent the same hardware as you have on site. In this example, if your machine on site would cost 950 euros per month, through resizing, you could cut the cost to 277 euros per month. There's another option, smoothing. What is smoothing? It's basically you look when is the hardware used during the day, and here you may realize that during the very early hours and the late evening, the hardware is not used at all. Meaning you could consider to further shrink the system. I'm not that much a fan of smoothing because if something goes wrong, it's usually during the early hours or during the evening. And if the system is unavailable during this time, well, you might have to find a way to get it up and running. And in this cases, most of the time is critical and you're using valuable time. However, there's another approach, and it's reservation. Reservation basically means if you talk to your cloud providers and you make a long-term commitment with them, they usually provide you interesting discounts. Long-term in this context means it's a commitment 1 to 3 years, and the discount usually is around 40 to 60%, which I consider a lot. It's reasonable. When we talk about cloud providers, we briefly have to talk about hyperscalers. worldwide. There are 4 hyperscalers. There's AWS from Amazon, there's Google Cloud, there's Microsoft Cloud Azure, and there's Alibaba. In Europe, Alibaba is not that relevant. We see it really rarely, whereas the other 3 cloud providers, you see them here everywhere. When you compare all 3 different cloud providers, these 3 cloud providers, you find out in terms of cost and features, they are more or less the same. For me, Microsoft Cloud Azure is still the best option to choose. Why? Because most of us already have an M365 account, Microsoft products, so we use it in terms of Office applications, and that's why I think it's best to go for Microsoft Cloud Azure, because you may already have a subscription that you can just use for this. Last but not least, it's 4+1. One meaning that SAP, of course, has also an interesting option. You can go and ask SAP to host your SAP Business One environment. They have a public cloud offering. On this slide, I'd like to talk about our platform, Business One Cloud. And I want to give you some examples for cloud connectivity and cloud mobility. I selected 5 different areas for examples: employees, inventory logistics, service, purchasing, and sales. We begin with employees. What did we do? One of the frequent requirements we face is time attendance. And what we did is we ran a pre-market research and investigated existing time attendance software in the German market. We identified Time Butler as such a provider, and they have an existing cloud connectivity. And what we did is we took Business One Cloud, connected it to Time Butler, and we were able to exchange information. And what we do, we extract timesheets, and based off of these timesheets, we can even create invoices. The second application I'd like to briefly summarize is Kobe WMS. This is a solution. I'm a big fan of it. It's an app that you can download on your Android device, and through cloud connectivity, you can just connect the device to the Business One Cloud. And from there, you can basically book all your inventory movements. And from everywhere in the world, you can just start the app and connect it to the cloud, and you're good to go. Logistics. In Germany, we frequently have DHL, and we have a straightforward connectivity to DHL, but we also created, again, cloud connectivity to ShipCloud, meaning if you need another logistics provider like UPS, you can use or you can talk to them through the ShipCloud directly. Last example for inventory and logistics is EDI. We frequently see that customers have a fulfillment provider, and these fulfillment providers have some sort of EDI connectivity. That means they have a web service that we can talk to through API. And what we did is we created a small EDI framework. And through this framework, we can connect to the fulfillment providers and, for instance, create through the interface deliveries, etc. Next area is service. And here we connected the existing service app, meaning SAP provides a service app that you can download on your iOS device and your Android device. It's really nice for field service. It has some basic functionality to provide service, and it's just there. You download it, you connect it to Business One Cloud, and you're good to go. Next area, purchasing. Similar to the fulfillment process, we frequently see purchasing processes, especially in the drop shipment area. You have some sort of sales order, and you need your vendor to fulfill this sales order. What you create is an order through EDI in his environment, and they're doing the delivery. Last but not least, and frequently talked about sales area. What we see here is, of course, massive web shops, and most of them are today cloud-based. We have a straight connectivity to Shopify, Shopware, and WooCommerce, and we can just create the connectivity like nothing. Next example here is the sales app. It's also an app created by SAP. You can download it on your device. You're ready to go. You can connect to the cloud. You can browse through your items. You can browse through your customers, and you may even create a quotation just using the app. Finally, connectivity to CRM. CRM systems, most of them are also cloud-based today. That means we can connect to the CRM system and, of course, exchange business partner information and maybe information about quotations. So if you like to test our environment, you can just go to www.business-one.cloud, and you can create your own demo system within 3 minutes just using your standard browser. Now, finally, last slide, what I'd like to talk about is why to go into cloud and why would you like, or why should you do this? Now, when I talk to people, Business One customers, they frequently tell me, you know what, I did my homework. I have created a connection to my web shop, to my logistics, to my WMS. I have done all the homework. I'm good. I don't need this. And in these cases, I say, well, lucky you, you did your homework, very good. But what you need to know is through cloud technology, your competitors, they don't sleep, and basically they can keep up with you very fast. And what I'd like to mention is that we also need to look a bit into the future and see what you do with cloud technology and for what technology you're basically creating the foundation for. First thing is augmented reality, and we see these classes. You have the classes, and they give you information like things you need to know for learning, or same as about your, say, logistics in your warehouse. It may give you a pick list and gives you directions where to go to pick up items, etc., etc. In the area of Internet of Things, what we see are showcases where you insert a chip into your package, and when the package is delivered and it's being dropped for whatever reason, the chip may notice that the parcel has been dropped, and it may connect through cloud to your ERP system, telling the system the parcel has been dropped. It's you may have to it's damaged, and you may have to send a replacement. Next example, machine learning. We have seen a showcase. It's a showcase I really like. It's about banana products. So when you send out bananas to their target area, target destination, they're in a different shape than the bananas you basically take out of the parcel. So once shipment has arrived. And so what they did is they took photos of bananas before they insert them into the parcel, and based on this information, they were able to derive how the banana is when you take it out, if you still can eat it, and how it looks like. And this is one of the examples for machine learning, where you basically through image recognition, you can give estimation about, in this case, the banana, the shape, and the taste, etc. Chatbots, nowadays we see them very often when you go to websites. They may give you helpful information about services, these kind of things, but they're also interesting to implement, for instance, in web shops, because they can give your customer further information about different products they should purchase, or other things. So in terms of sales, chatbots nowadays are interesting because you can increase revenue by using chatbots. artificial intelligence in general. Here we created our own showcase 2 or 3 years ago. It's a showcase about sentiment analysis. What we did is we connected Microsoft Azure Cloud to SAP Business One, and we derived service contracts and written text in Azure, and we assigned positive scores for text with positive meanings and a negative score with to text with negative meanings. And based on this information, we were able to derive like customer groups where the customer where you may have a problem, or items groups where you may have some sort of service problem. That means on aggregated level, we were able to distinguish different groups and scenarios, giving you advice where you want to look at where you may have to improve your service level. Next example, advanced analytics. So what we see are, for instance, SAP Analytics Cloud. With existing scenarios, you can basically push your data into. You can create forecasts, you can create analysis, and we expect also further advanced analytics scenarios using cloud technology. Finally, there's the blockchain, which is nowadays everywhere. And of course, through cloud technology, you can directly connect to blockchain. I finally leave you my contact details. So if you have any questions or you can just reach out to me. Here's my telephone number and my email address, and I'm happy to hear from you.